Welcome everyone. It's been a few weeks since we all got together last. I'm happy to see some familiar names here in the webinar today. So we're going to talk about a topic that it's been popular lately in terms of marketing. It's been even more interesting in the current landscape that we're in. I'll call it more of a challenging landscape for membership operators. We're going to talk about scarcity. And just to level set here, well, the whole discussion today is going to be through the lens of you as a membership operator running your membership and what you already have working for you in the background that you may have not given a lot of thought to in terms of scarcity. So we're going to step through this in a basic way. I'm going to show you a few examples of some customers that have implemented some of the things we're going to talk about, what the implications of those things were, and then I want to leave lots of time here at the end for questions. I anticipate several questions based off what we're going to talk about today. So without further ado, let's just hit the lineup and get started. So first things first, we're going to cover the natural scarcity of membership. I'll explain more about what that means in just a minute. We're going to look at how to create and how to communicate scarcity in your program. We're going to look at a quick case study, and we're going to do Q&A at the end. So in terms of membership, so let's start with this idea / fact here that membership is naturally scarce. Now, what do I mean by that? If we think about you as a membership operator running your membership, you're going to bring a few things to the table. Those things include unique perspectives, unique content, unique skills, unique qualifications, your unique vision, and your unique voice. Now, when we think about what scarcity truly means, things are limited. Things are in short supply. There's only so much of it to go around. Well, the great thing about you and your membership today is that there's a 100% chance that there's no one else that possesses the unique makeup of all these characteristics that we're going to talk about today. That makes you and your program scarce. Now, the problem is, as we think about membership and membership operators and the way they typically market and the way they typically speak to their audiences, we don't really speak from a place of scarcity. We speak more from a place of just simple marketing. So we often educate our members and our audiences on the benefits of our programs. We don't spend a lot of time educating people on why our program should be viewed as a product that is scarce and what are the consequences of not signing up for such a program. How is someone's life going to be enriched by taking action today versus waiting to sign up for your program tomorrow? So as we go through the presentation, I want you to keep some of these ideas here in the back of your head. And as we go through, jot down questions you have, and then you're going to see why all of this becomes to matter in a much larger way as we talk about how to actually put these things to work and hopefully get you to a spot where you see increased acquisition and overall higher sales. And I think you're going to be really excited as we step through this, because the great thing about scarcity and membership is that we also find that membership is not easily replicated for a lot of the same reasons that we just talked about. You have your own unique ideas. You have your own unique voice. You have all of these things that someone else is going to have a very difficult time to replicate and to compete with you, frankly. So if we think about those two items together, we have something that's naturally scarce. We have something that's not easily replicated. And the implication of those two things is that we end up with a product, i.e. your membership. It carries extreme value. But the problem is that we typically don't think about how to leverage these two things to communicate this to our audience. So everything we're going to talk about is going to lay out how to communicate this in a better way so that when someone comes across your membership for the first, second, or 10th time, that they immediately see extreme value and they immediately walk away from your offering understanding why they should take action today versus waiting for some specified period of time. So let's talk a little bit about 3 areas of attack here. These are going to focus specifically on your product, your promotions, and access. And what I mean by this, so at the product level, this is going to be your product that you put into the hands of your members. Maybe this is your newsletter. Maybe it's your podcast. It can be whatever the thing is that you deliver as a paid benefit. That's your product. We're going to go into promotions. This is anything that you may do today or that maybe that you're not doing today that drums up business, that gets people excited, that gets people talking about what's the offering and why should we be excited about this thing. And then we're going to wrap up with this whole concept of access. And what I mean by access is that how you control and allow access of new members into your program can have major implications of long-term revenue, long-term retention, and long-term churn trends. So let's just start out before we go any further with about the product level. I want to talk specifically about your product. There's 3 questions that when we look across our customer base, and we take feedback and we analyze lead capture mechanisms. There's all of these things that go into what makes someone take action today versus later. If we want to focus on the 3 questions that you need to be answering for your members on your sales page today, this is how this shakes out. So the first one, why is your membership irreplaceable? So why should someone walk away from your website with the feeling that they can't get that product anywhere else? Are you answering that question for them on your website today? Number 2, why should someone purchase today rather than later? And number 3, what is the consequence of not becoming a member? Now, I've got an example that I want to show you guys here, and we're going to see this in the real world. What does this look like in the real world? So those 3 questions that we just talked about, we've got all of those 3 questions answered on this sample landing page here. So this is Membership Lab. This is our fictitious brand here that we're going to sell a membership program that helps membership operators grow their revenue. So immediately when you land on this page, you see that there's a 40% off offer, and the offer is only good for this week only. We also see that it's immediately clear that signups for this offer are closing on April 28th, and they won't reopen until the following year. So immediately we have established why this offer is scarce. We have outlaid the specific benefit to joining now. You join now, you get 40% off. And we also know that this is an opportunity that won't necessarily come back around until a year later. Now, this particular example uses what's called a closed membership sign-up model. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this later in the presentation, but just imagine that if there's any period during the course of a year, over the course of a quarter, a few weeks, whatever it is, that folks have the ability to sign up for this membership for a very small window of time. And we're going to see as you scroll down here, those questions that we talked about earlier, the 3 questions. I want you to, if we look closely at the headlines on this sample page, we see here that this particular brand says that this is the only program that's generated millions in new revenue for hundreds of customers. So automatically, we have established some quantification of the consequence to not purchasing this membership. So as we go through the sales page, we know that the offer is scarce. We know we've quantified what the discount is if you sign up now, and we also have highlighted the consequence here of not taking action. And we're going to come back to this in a minute. I'm going to show you a few more things in our deck here that we're covering, but I want you to focus on these 3 questions, and I want you to keep thinking about what we talked about earlier in the presentation about your unique voice, your unique vision, and all of the things that you bring to the table that maybe your competitors aren't able to match, because that's going to come into play here in a big way as we talk through the rest of this presentation. But so let's just take a minute and say that if you have a membership that's selling a newsletter, for example, it doesn't matter if it's a newsletter, it doesn't matter if it's a podcast, it doesn't matter what the particular benefit is. At the product level, if you're able to establish and clearly communicate scarcity, you're going to have a much easier time down the road when it comes to your promotions and creating scarcity around those promotions. You're going to have a much easier time down the road when it comes to creating scarcity around the access of your program. So let's look at some quick strategies for creating product scarcity. And when we talk about product scarcity, this can be lots of different ideas and strategies that you can employ today, but I'm going to focus on 4 of them that we have seen customers have great results with. And the first one is that it's the classic plan that you create that has a limited number of seats with exclusive benefits. So let's say you have 4 plans today. A way to create scarcity, if you feel like there's not enough scarcity in your program today, you could create a new plan, limit the number of seats, and provide a level of benefit that's not present in those other plans today. And you can instantly communicate that if there's 10, 15, 20, or 50 seats available, ever how many you choose to make, that immediately establishes scarcity. Maybe it's a benefit that maybe it's interaction. Maybe a membership operator, as the founder of the membership, wants to offer one-on-one coaching sessions with members. This can look lots of different ways, but I want to get you thinking about how do you create something of value that fills in limited supply to the audience that you're selling to. Another example of this would be one-time purchase plans that provide access to a special event, whether that's a online webinar, whether it's a one-on-one coaching call, whether it is a live event, a meetup, for example, where there is some exchange of value taking place that folks can immediately know that what they're purchasing is in limited supply. That's another great example. Selling a limited number of lifetime memberships. So we see all the time that around the holidays, we have customers who actually work very hard to spend the whole year working up to a promotion where they have lots of satisfied members, and they give those members the opportunity to upgrade to a lifetime membership for a specific period of time. And what that does is it lets you do 2 things. It lets you market to new potential members who haven't joined yet and offer a lifetime membership to someone off the bat, but it also lets you offer a lifetime membership upgrade to existing members who are already so satisfied with your program. If they're happy to stay in the program longer term, a lifetime membership strategy could make sense. It's just a strategy that you want to do. I would suggest not doing this more than once per year, for example. So that has been a major driver of revenue, a major driver of cash flow for several of our customers, especially around the holidays. Those often work really well. And then one-time opportunities to upgrade, whether it's upgrade to a higher tier. Again, it could be an upgrade to a specific plan that where you have specified a number of seats that are limited. So for example, let's say you have 100 members on a monthly plan, and you create a new plan to allow these members to upgrade. And one of the things that you could do here is give these members the opportunity to upgrade, get additional benefits, but they have to be educated on the fact and know up front that if they choose not to upgrade and the offer gets full and the offer is sold from members elsewhere, the key here to creating scarcity that sticks around for a period of time is coming back to this offer that we've put in front of people and, in fact, highlighting how quickly this offer was taken advantage of. And I'm going to show you another example of that in just a second, because once folks know that an offer has ended, it's almost like they get to see the consequence of having not taken the action. So if we look at promotions, for example, let's say that you have a program and you're running coupon-based promotions once a year, twice a year, whether it's holiday-based, whether it's quarterly. Let's just look at time-limited coupons for a second. So if we have a coupon that goes into effect and it's only good for a week, we could immediately create a landing page that speaks specifically to the scarcity of that particular offer. Same thing with the number of redemptions for our coupons. If we want to limit the number of redemptions for a specific coupon, keeping members updated or potential members updated in real time is a great way to not only raise the stakes when it comes to consequences of not joining, but it creates a level of transparency for people who are weighing the decision to join or not. So I'll give you an example. Email. A lot of people sell exclusively via an email list. And I talked with a customer about 2 weeks ago where they ran a campaign, and once a day they would update their email list with the specific number of memberships that were available for this new plan that they created. And what they found was that the closer so they started out with 50 memberships available. And as that number approached zero, they saw accelerated sales activity. And it was only because the potential members who were on that email list could see and were educated in real time about how fast those memberships were selling. So that in and of itself is enough to drive action when you have a group of people who can see in real time how fast a product is selling. That's a natural and organic way to generate demand. The last one here would be an example of tiered coupons. This is the classic approach where, let's say you make 15 coupon codes available at 40% off. You make 8 coupon codes available at 30% off. You make 4 available at 20% off. So it's a tiered approach. That's another lever you can pull in your membership, and when it comes to converting people from your email list or wherever your audience happens to be. If they can see in real time and know when an offer is close to being ended, or an offer is so close to the point there's limited seats available, that's going to make a massive difference in the outcome that you receive, that you see on the other side of your acquisition event. And we're going to look at another example. I'm going to share a new screen with you here. And this time I want you to look closer at this is the website we just looked at a while ago. This was the offer we presented to our audience. Now, let's fast forward 3 days into the future. This is key. The people who are either interested in your product or the people who thought about purchasing but just didn't quite take that step. It's important that they see this page here. It's important that you communicate to them at some point in the sales process that, number one, the offer has ended. It's even better if you can quantify how many other people actually took advantage of the offer while it was available. And this gives you a path to leave the door open for future sales the next time you decide to make this offer available. So if we just take a look at the page here, we see that 127 membership operators redeemed the offer that we showed in the prior step. We also know that now we can, in this case, we say we'll be sharing updates on how Membership Lab is helping them grow their business over the next 12 months. So immediately we have established the consequence and quantified in a more tangible way what the folks who decided to take action, what they got in return. We know that those folks are going to have one-on-one coaching and expertise available to them to grow their business over the next 12 months. And we're going to actually get to see that happen in real time, because the Membership Lab is going to provide updates to its audience and keep them updated of the progress they're making. And then this last piece here, the lead capture form, this is just a simple way to put your members or your audience on a list. And you know that these folks are considered your warmest leads because they're number one, they were looking for the offer. They didn't quite take action, but they expressed interest in being notified the next time you decide to implement this offer. So this is key. This is the most important step when it comes to scarcity in your membership, is showing communication that speaks to the fact how the offer has ended, quantify how many people took advantage, and leave that door open for an email opt-in that allows them to express interest in the next time that offer comes around. And you're going to see a major difference in your downstream conversion rates the next time you decide to implement that type of framework. So let's just talk about access for a minute. So we've talked about promotions. We have talked about our product level scarcity. So if we think about access to the program, how easy is it for someone to sign up? Can someone sign up every day of the week? Can someone sign up only once a month, once a quarter, once per year? Those are questions that on the surface, you may think, well, why would I not leave my membership open all the time for certain types of sales? And when you look at creating scarcity, that would be directly go against what you're trying to do. And what I want to do is cover an example here in just a second about we've got a customer who had, month to month sales that were averaging around $2,500 in new member acquisition a month. And we're going to look at what happened when they closed the membership and only opened it up for quarterly signups. But before we get to that example, I want to talk a little bit more about the closed signup model. So this model limits the signups to specific points in time. Just like the example we looked at a while ago was that we have this membership product, a business coaching, a membership coaching product where annual enrollment was only open once per year for 1 week at a time. And for the rest of that year, no one could sign up for that product at that price. So what that does is it naturally builds anticipation and higher demand as time goes on. It establishes some regularity to your acquisition events. And what you're going to find, we'll see in the case study here in just a second, is that this gives you a path to grow your acquisition in sequential steps over time, because in a way, you're kind of creating this pent-up demand between your acquisition events in your open enrollment sessions. So if we just think about what this does for you, it allows for a little bit more creativity in your overall promotion scheme. And it also will encompass all of these individual elements of scarcity that we have talked about up to this point. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to show you how this all comes together when we talk about access, promotions, and product. This all comes together in a way that really puts some power behind your acquisition and your overall membership. But this is the customer case study that I want to cover really quickly. So one of our customers, like I said, they averaged just under $2,500 per month in new member revenue. This is year 2021, and these are the monthly totals for new member acquisition, the value of that new member acquisition that they generated each month. Now, as you can see here, the acquisition is consistent, but we don't notice any meaningful growth. So there's no month-on-month growth. There is no quarter-on-quarter growth. This membership is just relatively consistent. And when we talk about growing a membership sustainably for the longer term, we have to find a way to grow acquisition over each month, over each quarter, over each year. If we don't, we end up playing a game of your acquisition just backfilling whatever churn you've realized, and the membership stays stagnant in terms of overall growth. But this customer went from an open sign-up model to a closed sign-up model, and the effect of that move is what you see here. So the orange bars represent the quarterly amounts of new member revenue that was generated when they closed the membership for 3 months at a time and opened it up for signups once per quarter for 1 week at a time. Now, there's a couple things here that are interesting. The biggest thing that will jump out to you at first is that this is a 47% increase in new member revenue that was achieved only by limiting when members could sign up for this product. So let's let that sink in for a minute. Scarcity alone drove this customer's overall revenue to a number that was higher than 47% when you take into account renewals that happened in the following year. But scarcity alone, closing that membership up for periods at a time, and then opening it back up, drove a 47% increase in the amount of new member revenue that they were able to realize. And the second piece here is that if you look at each quarter, there is growth in this acquisition. So in January, where the first quarter acquisition event that happened in January, we have a quarter-on-quarter growth going into Q2. We have quarter-on-quarter growth in Q3 and again in Q4. And that's because when you limit access and when you limit the availability of a compelling product, and it has to be a product that's compelling, that has a substantial value, when you do that, it creates accelerated demand sequentially as we go out in time. And this is a great way to do a couple things. This will not only drive higher acquisition value, it's going to also drive better retention, because members now know that if they do churn and decide that they do want to come back in the future, they're now going to have to wait specific periods of time, and access to that product is not readily available. It's limited to once per quarter. And this is the part that I want you to take away from this example, is that it doesn't have to be the move from a model where your membership is always available for sale, and moving that to a model where you may have periods of time where you've closed the membership. It does two things. It allows you to focus on meeting the needs of the members in the membership a little bit more than you're able to do when you're always chasing acquisition month to month or week to week. The other piece of that is when we look at long-term value of the revenue that's generated by this type of model, we've seen churn rates drop by 30% when folks employ this model here, this closed sign-up model. And that's really due to the synergistic effects that you get when you look at these three elements that we've talked about today. So if we just talk about access, promotion, and product, and we look at how all of these things come together and work together, if you were to implement a closed system of some form that suits your needs, whether it's once a quarter, once every 2 weeks, twice a year, whatever it happens to be, that access portion where you limit access to the program, it gives you so much more flexibility to then create even more scarcity around your promotion. And when you limit, when you create scarcity around access, you're also going to create more scarcity around the product. So when you use these three items together to your advantage, you're essentially going to amplify the value of each one of these in a way that's going to drive results that you may not have seen to date. And what I mean by that is that, for example, when you limit access to your program, you're going to see reduced churn. We always see reduced churn when access is limited to the program. When we look at your promotions, scarcity in promotions almost always leads to higher acquisition. When we create scarcity around the product itself, that drives higher lifetime value among your members. And when we let this system take shape, and when we let it work and let it operate over time, that is the cycle that's happening kind of in the background in an invisible way, that's allowing you to build foundations year after year after year, and build those renewal bases year after year after year. And pretty suddenly you're gonna look back 5 years from now, and the amount of progress you will have made will be so it will be eclipsed by what this strategy will do for you, versus if you have a strategy where the membership is open all the time. Let's say you want to let's just take an example about limiting your membership to twice a year signups. Now, I'm not suggesting that everyone does a twice a year signup model, but whatever works for you, it's important to think about what you're able to do with 4 acquisition events in a year versus that an acquisition event every day. So I would encourage you to think about this, and think about it through the lens of your specific program, about what you're comfortable with in terms of how often you would feel comfortable limiting the access to your program. If that's a strategy that you're comfortable with, I can say that across our customer base and the folks that we work with, we have not had a case to date where someone limited their program's access and saw decreased earnings from it. So that's the takeaway. Those are the 3 specific points I wanted to highlight. And then what I want to do now is go into a Q&A, and we can talk through any questions that you may have had prior to the webinar, coming into the webinar, or during the webinar. So I'll turn it over to Lauren, and she can let me know what questions we have.
Yep. So if you haven't seen in the Zoom interface, there's a Q&A area where you can ask your questions, and one has just come in. So I'm going to jump in and ask it. So here we go. 2 questions on scarcity and moving to a closed sign-up model. How do you communicate this change to your larger email base who haven't yet joined but already know it's open? That's the first question.
Got it. So I would say, number one, if you've traditionally been operating under an open model, and the audience has the understanding that that model has in fact been open for some amount of time, that actually puts you in a great spot from a marketing perspective to say, hey, we're moving to a closed membership model where we limit signups to 4 times per year, twice per year, whatever that may be. And you can actually, that's that actual ideal point in time to plug in with that audience and present them with an offer that would push them toward the action of signing up, so that they don't have to wait 2 months from now or 3 months from now. And you can pair that with a discount. You could pair that with the introduction of a new plan with added benefits. But I would say that just because you have an email list that assumes or has the understanding that the program is always available for purchasing, closing that program off and limiting those sign up points is going to be it's going to be the fuel to the fire of pulling forward any acquisition that you probably would have realized over time, but it's going to pull it forward in a way that folks are going to want to take action now. And I think as long as you're clear on how long it will be until they can sign up again, or if this is the only opportunity they have to sign up for this particular product, as transparent and as straightforward as you can be there, the better. So that would be my advice on that first part of that question. I think Lauren, was there a second part to that question?
Yep, there was. So part 2 or question 2 from the same participant was, how does this work with free trials? Right now, we allow a 2-week free trial before members convert to paid, and we're at a 70% conversion rate.
Okay, so if you have a free trial, in fact, if you have a free trial at a 70% conversion rate, that's a stellar conversion rate. I would not recommend messing with that at all. So, for example, if you have a trial that's converting into one specific plan, I would not want to limit that particular plan that you're seeing that good conversion from on the free trial side of things. But what you could do is set up or limit the access to other plans with added benefits, whether those are more expensive plans or plans that bring about benefits that aren't available in the plan that folks are converting out of the trial to. So I would use my trial, keep using it as you're doing today, but maybe not limit that particular product, but place more emphasis and focus on limiting or creating scarcity around other plans that may be considered an upgrade to that particular plan that folks are converting out of the trial into. That would be my quick piece of advice on that.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Lauren, for the questions. Moving on to another question. I have an open model. I was going to launch an annual plan at a discounted rate. Should I use this scarcity model for the annual plan, or would it defeat the purpose if I keep an open model for monthly signups?
So if you keep an open a model for your monthly signups and the benefits are the same as they are for the annual plan, I would say that you probably would cannibalize any of the added benefits you're getting by limiting the access. So if the annual plan benefits and the monthly plan benefits are identical, I would say that giving folks the option or limiting the signups for those two plans needs to be the same for both of those plans. I would not suggest limiting your annual plan if the benefits are identical to the benefits under the monthly plan.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for the question, Evie. Okay, a bunch of other questions here. Let's see. You mentioned the notion of providing real-time updates showing how many coupons or spots are left in a limited promotion. Does Memberful have any easy way to make that happen, or how would you suggest that approach? So I'll answer part 1 is we don't have a built-in way to do that. So I'm curious if, Michael, in the past, have you seen people just updating this manually? Or you have other ideas? Because on Memberful's end, we don't have an automated way of doing that at the moment.
Sure. So in terms of what you can leverage to communicate, like the number of products left available, it would depend a little bit on how long the promotion's running, where is the audience at that you're speaking to. So if they're in your email list, for example, my suggestion there would be so you're going to have to, first of all, you're going to have to manually track, how many memberships are left at any given point in time, and then maybe update them once per day over the week. If the promotion's a week long, consider a once per day update of how many memberships are left. Now, if the membership is in promotion is shorter than 1 week, then you start to get into a space where it makes more sense to have some sort of counter that's on your actual sales page that shows in real time how many memberships are left. And there is a tool that you can use for this. You update it manually. It's like a widget you drop on your landing page. And one of the things I'll do is I make sure that on the after the webinar today, I will make sure we include a link to that particular widget that you can use, but you just put the widget on your sales page, and it counts down in real time, and you update that as you need throughout the course of your promotion. And that will let your first-time site visitors, it gives them a sense of how fast that product's selling. It creates that level of scarcity that we talked about. And you're going to see like I said earlier, you'll see a huge lift in your conversions if you have an on-site tool that's able to manually portray that information in terms of how many memberships are left. So I'll make sure we send the link to that tool out after this webinar today.
Excellent. That was a great question. Another one. Here we go. It's a little bit of a longer one, so stay with me. I've contemplated the idea of implementing some manner of limit on membership signups for a while now. Example, opening the doors to new members only once a quarter, a couple of weeks, etc. But I'm always worried that any benefit the sense of scarcity delivers could be canceled out by the inability of people to sign up outside of those windows and the loss of sales that might result in. Do you think the benefit of scarcity is consistently enough to outweigh the loss of new signups outside of those limited periods, or do you see that as being a potential risk? I feel like the answer here has to be yes, but it'd be nice to have some additional and explicit reassurance, smiley face.
Yep. So to start with on the first part, I think that, so first of all, I would always encourage you to assess what your monthly acquisition is. Closing the doors on consistent acquisition feels like it feels risky, right? It certainly can make folks uncomfortable. But I will say that when we talk about if the benefit is negated or if we lose out on sales, does that just offset any benefit that we have? I can tell you with confidence to date, for every customer that I've worked with who has implemented an approach that has quarterly signups, you can only sign up for the membership once per quarter. All of these folks had consistent acquisition before they made that move. I think going into it, their mindset was more along the lines of, we'll try it for a quarter and see what happens. And if everything feels uncomfortable, we'll just go back to the way it was. And that has not happened. What we have seen is that putting the limit on the access to the program will generate higher quarterly acquisition during that time frame, whenever your acquisition is open, than you would have seen if you just let it be open month to month to month. So I would much rather see you in a position where you have a great product, where folks know they can only get their hands on that product during this amount of time, versus having a great product that someone thinks that it's just there and it's always available anytime I want it. And if that's the case, that's going to remove a lot of the motivation from folks to even want to sign up for that product to begin with. So I know it feels risky. I completely empathize with the fact that it feels uncomfortable, but we have not seen a case where it has not worked out to the good here. So that's why I'm confident in telling you that I would not shy away from at least giving this a try.
Excellent. And I have a good follow-up question for that from the same attendee. One more question. Sorry for so many. Don't apologize. We love questions. That's why we want to be here and do this live. In addition to limiting the windows when people can sign up for membership, do you see value in limiting the number of people who can sign up in each window? Example, making it so there are only 50 new spots available during this open period each quarter? Or does that seem like it'd only be limiting profit, causing more harm than good?
Okay, so great question. And this is one we deal with all the time. So A lot of folks think you go either or. You either limit the number of seats available, or you just offer the discount and you limit the amount of time that the membership is available. I can tell you that if you can pair the two together. So let's say it's Q1 and you open the membership up for a week. If you can find a way to provide some sort of discount over that week and say that there are only 100 of these. So let's just say you limit it to 100. There are 100 memberships available at this price. What you're going to see is that will accelerate your acquisition throughout the course of your promotion. But I would encourage you to, when you set your target, make sure your target is reasonable, but you would not want to set a target too high. So for example, let's say you have 150 memberships available and it's day 4 of your 5-day promotion and only 62 of them have been purchased. That's going to actually give you a bit more of a challenge in how you communicate urgency and scarcity if the demand isn't matching up with the target you've set. So I would have a look at your acquisition, your historic acquisition, get a good sense of what that has felt like it would be. And then when you start this thing for the first time, set a target that's realistic, one that you actually think you can hit. And I would encourage it to be one that you actually think you could hit rather quickly versus waiting to the end of the promotion to hit it.
Amazing. We have two questions from Jeff, and then one more after that. So this is actually quite interesting because this might be relevant to quite a few customers who use Memberful to report on the news. So he says, we deal with real-time news and some has timely value. How would we implement scarcity of signups if the reason for some people signing up might come and go in that time and can't necessarily predict it?
Sure. So if you're real-time updating if you're updating members in real time, that would be like an edge case where I would say unless you have data that suggests that your members are staying around for a specified period of time where it could make sense to limit it, I would not encourage you to limit access to a product where folks are buying it to use on a very short time horizon. This works best for memberships who have longer time horizons where folks are staying around for longer periods of time, regardless of what the product is. So if it's real-time updates and if it's a news-based product, I think that's probably an edge case where the scarcity factor would work against you in terms of limiting signups. And in that case, I would probably focus more on creating scarcity around promotions and pricing for that particular product, but always keep that product available for purchase. But maybe you could find some creative ways to introduce some promotions that are scarce around it instead of limiting the access of that product.
That's a good segue into his second question, which is there a way for Memberful to communicate that the offer has ended piece on coupon pages? We usually promote those directly. We can close the coupon, but can we customize the messaging for urgency? We definitely need to message to people that they missed out on deals. We have just let coupons expire recently. So we don't have a way in Memberful to, like, if a coupon, for example, is expired, that it's not a super inspiring message. So you'd have to get creative in replacing the coupon with another message that you put right into your site, sort of a custom work versus something Memberful supports. But I can see how that would be helpful to customize the "Hey, you missed the deal" message. Michael?
Yeah, and I would say this would just go further to the point of the need to have a landing page specifically for your offer, because at that point, once the coupons have hit the limit, at least you can update your copy on your landing page and you can remove the purchase link. That would be my suggestion, is that let's say you have 100 coupons available. Once the 100th coupon has been redeemed, just update that copy on your sales page that says, "Hey, this offer has ended," and then remove the purchase link. And then that would give you the opportunity to maybe even capture an email for someone to express further interest the next time you run this thing, like we showed in that example earlier.
Yeah, good one. We have one last question here. The lifetime membership option is really interesting, but it's tough to know if and at what level it would actually be sensible from a business perspective, especially since the people likely to take advantage of that are presumably the most engaged, likely to stick around anyway members. Is there any particular pricing formula you see as being most beneficial and least likely to cause long-term losses in LTV with that?
Yes. So great question. So I do have a rule that I stick to when it comes to helping folks try to figure this out. So know your So let's say that you're ready to run a lifetime membership promotion. As long as you know what your member lifetime value is today, and you're about to start your lifetime membership promotion, knowing your LTV value, what it is at this moment in time, take that number, multiply it by 2. And I would never suggest that because the concern here is that you have folks that you're going to sell out into a lifetime membership, that the membership, then you're essentially capping the value that member is going to bring to you over time. So that's why the number one, I only encourage folks to do a lifetime membership promotion no more than once per year. So let's say it's December of 2023 and you're going to run a lifetime membership promotion and your member lifetime value is $150. I would run the promotion. I would not make the lifetime value of the lifetime membership any less than $300 per membership. That's twice the value of your current lifetime value. And then what that also is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to get another year under your belt. And then when you revisit this promotion in the following year, we can take another look at our lifetime value to see, has it risen above the point it was at the year prior? And if it has, that would necessitate the need to raise the price of the lifetime membership. So lifetime memberships are great cash flow generators. They're great ways to pull forward demand, but they have to be used strategically. And the most strategic place that I see those playing out the best is that you run that promotion once per year and you never sell it for less than twice the current value of your member lifetime value.
Awesome. Well, quick follow-up. Can you remind us exactly where we find the overall LTV or LTV per plan within the Memberful dashboard? I don't know if you have a dashboard handy. If not, we can reach out to the customer after the call note to do that.
Yeah,
so JR, unless you have it handy, but otherwise I can reach out to JR after the call.
Yeah, and just as a quick tack on to what Lauren said, the LTV, if you just go to your metrics view in your dashboard, the table that's underneath the chart metrics, that bottom row in that table will show you your current value of your LTV month to month. So that's the place to go find that.
But we don't have it by plan, so it's LTV for the entire membership. Just FYI.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. We don't have LTV by plan. That's the composite. Yeah, the composite LTV. We could also send out a quick formula for folks to use based off the churn metrics specific to the plan. That gives you an idea of what the LTV would be per plan if that's something you'd like to track.
Okay, we can add that as a resource along with the widget for the countdown. So that's 2 things we'll add. Yeah, so that's all the questions. So it's a good segue. So after the call, we're going to get the recording up on Vimeo and send you the link. And we will send along the resources Michael has talked about. And as always, just thank you so much for joining. Michael, thank you for putting on an amazing presentation with so much actionable items to take away. And I know you usually say this, but if you have any follow-up questions, you can write into the help desk and we'll get you in touch with Michael to help navigate any of the information that he shared today. And this is the 4th out of 5 webinars in our learning series. So please look out for the 5th and final webinar in this series coming at you in May. Any parting words, Michael?
Yeah, I think you said it. So don't hesitate to reach out. If you've got questions about anything we talked about, either message the help desk, send me an email directly, michael@memberful.com, and we will chat about whatever it is you have going on.